Four Lakes is not planning to go dredge all of the canals and creeks and so forth around the lake. This is something that really the people who live in along those parts of the waterway need to decide what needs to be done, and it would be good for them to engage somebody to come in and make this improvement in front of their properties.
Yeah.
And I would add as well, I don't believe the Four Lakes Task Force has the legal authority under Part 307 to dredge in front of properties related to their role as a Part 307 delegated authority. Our role is to maintain the lake levels. It could require putting augmentation wells in to raise the lake level. That's one way to do it, and also repair and restore dams. That's what we have legal authority to do. There are other statutes like Part 309 of the Michigan Natural Resources Environmental Protection Act, where you have various lake improvement boards have the ability to do that. Your townships also have the ability to do that through Act 188. There are other statutes under which you could proceed where perhaps a different special assessment district could be used to do that. But I think Dave is correct. It also requires permitting from the Michigan Department of Great Lakes Environment and Eagle.
The one thing that I would add too, Dave, is from an engineering point of view, we are in the process of mapping the lake bottom, and so in addition, an elevation and water depth map will be provided.
Yeah, and so I think one of the challenges on the lake is understanding that we're not. It's now county property. We're the authority to kind of manage the lake level, get it up, get the dams repaired, bring the lakes. This is also a local issue. Townships have authority, the lake boards have authority. So the improvement of the lakes, weed districts, those things, we're not all things to the lake. The law is set up so that it's local to your lake. And the federal government comes in when there's like an emergency to your house. So there is some folks that have gotten things when it actually puts a risk to the house, but the benefit issue on dredging, that's an ongoing thing in a lake, and it's something that the community can deal with and stuff to do. But we need to, I get that that's an issue right now, that we need to help communicate it better. We do have a plan to engage and we have been engaging the lake improvement boards, and we need to continue to do that as well as with the townships, and that's going to be a proactive thing we need to do.
Okay,
good questions, long answers, but I think it was a very good set of questions. I know we haven't answered it completely, but we know it's an issue and we're working on it.
Okay, our next question is from Jean Smith. Jean?
Yeah, hi. First, thanks for everything everybody is doing to get water back in front of my house. So I know it's a lot of work. I know it's really complex. I was driving down my street the other day, and I noticed a no sad sign, right? So it was a red circle, and it said sad, and it's kind of a rally around not supporting the restoration of the lake. So I'm wondering, is there a opposing or supporting of the Four Lakes Task Force and bringing the lakes back that I can put in my yard to voice my support for all the work we're trying to do to get the lakes back? Because I want to be visible in my support.
And being perfectly neutral, we can point that to you. If you go to info.org, we'll send you to the sites that can help you do that.
Okay.
We certainly are encouraging letter. You can always write letters to your congressman. They actually want to hear from you. I mean, we just sector survey tells a lot to them, and they're going to get that. But I think also it's very good to start to be an advocate. People in government will give you money if you have a plan and you have people behind the plan. So I appreciate your question, and we'll get you connected.
Okay, our next question comes from Andre Sustis. Andre?
Hello, can you hear me?
You said, yes.
Oh, perfect. It was perfect timing, actually, that missed the previous question about Notice SAD. So I just want to clear that up. The mission of Notice SAD is not to not restore the lakes. It is to do it with other funding. it is the benefit to the owners. It's a restored benefit, a benefit that we had before the floods. So just to clear that up, the no to SAD is not a no to the lakes, but it's a no to the special assessment district. So I have many questions, so I should get on to those instead. My main question is regarding flood control. Mr. Kepler has repeatedly said that the new dams will not be used for flood control. Yet it seems, especially lately, Midland finds flood control kind of important. Part of the new dams, as part of the new dams and control the floods. So my question is regarding flood control. The benefit will now expand to Midland. Will the rebuilding funds be also shared with Midland? Will Midland be chipping in to rebuild the dams now that the benefit is extended to them for flood control? Which seems like we seem to be talking about flood control all the time, but yet these dams are not for flood control. I wish somebody would either not talk about flood control if they're not used for flood control, or come up with a better way to term it. That's my question.
Okay, so Andre, let me do it in 3 steps, and there's like papers and papers on this. These dams are not flood control dams. If you put them in, if you would not put them in for flood control, there's not a benefit if they're if they're left out. So we just have a river right now. Nobody would put these dams in just to control floods. When you put the dams in, you have an obligation to manage the dams in a way that you don't create more risk and flood. So there is flood control management once the dam's put in, but nobody downstream is going to think it's a great idea to put these dams in for flood control because they don't serve that purpose. They serve a recreational purpose. But once they get put in, we have an obligation to put them in so they don't break, and we have an obligation to manage them so they don't create more issues around flooding. And so that's why they get lowered at different times of the years and manage it. If there's a benefit to pay in the county, we 100% agree. But we got to get off this. It's a flood control, and it's Dow Chemical that's going to pay for it. It's the city of Midland that's going to pay for it. The reason they would pay for it is because they see the economic value of the dams and their recreation and the value and economy it brings to the community. And that's the thing we should be selling the thing to other folks on, not that we're providing a feature that's not available. So I reject the point of that we're putting these things in for flood control. We're not. We're trying to manage a region that's flooding all the time, and we're trying to convince people we can put these dams in and safely manage them that way, which is absolutely true. Should other people outside the special assessment district pay? Everybody in this call has said yes. I signed yes to that. The federal government should pay, the state should pay, and I think the county should pay. But each of them have to make a choice, just like you've made a choice that you don't want to pay. You don't want to pay through the special assessment district, yet you're asking everybody else to pay. My belief is we have to pay to have a special assessment district, or we're not going to have a lake, because we have to have a fundamental foundation for the last resort of funding. Then the county should think about paying something because they get a benefit economically in their region, but they can't pay for it all because they can't afford it. The state, it's not all their problem. It was a federally regulated problem. But we should be asking for the money there. We should quit talking about how we're fighting inside the county and start to advocate for how we get funding in the state and in the federal government. So thank you for your question. But the more we spend talking about flood control, the less chance we have of bringing up these lakes. So we should just shut up and demonstrate to people that we can run these things safely, build them safely, and that everybody should share in their response. I'm pretty passionate about this because we've wasted a tremendous amount of time on this when it's not even relevant. We need to demonstrate we can put these dams in place, and we need to demonstrate they can be done safely, and we can manage flood systems in the system that will occur with or without the dams. And we're committed to that, and that's why we're putting measurements in and approving it. So we've had this discussion. This is the last time I'm talking about it. Thank you. Okay.
See, the next,
I'll be nicer on the next one.
is Michelle Wood.
Hi, Michelle.
Michelle, are you self-muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Michelle, we can hear you.
Yes. The first thing I want to do is take a few seconds to just commend all of you. I've lived on this lake for 30 years, and everybody I know around me is so supportive of you and wants to see this happen. Nobody wants to pay a bunch of money that, you know, they hadn't planned on, but the special assessment is what it is. We want our lakes back, and we are very supportive of what you're doing. What I think would be helpful is if you could say or put out there, what does advocate for the Four Lakes Task Force mean? Now, to me, it does mean writing our legislators or people that have influence, and also like perhaps these signs that we're talking about. But it would be helpful, I think, for, since we're dealing with a diverse community, to say, what would you like us to do to help advocate for the Four Lakes Task Force? And then my second thing is to ask about the infrastructure bill that is currently out there. I've heard that there's nothing in there that could potentially help us. I've heard things that, yes, it could potentially help us. And what can we do to help make sure that if there is an infrastructure bill to be coming at the federal level, that we